Videos are becoming more and more popular, so it's up to us as filmmakers to help create engaging and unique content. After Effects is an awesome tool that I believe helps us do this through creating animations or new titles. Today we're going to do an introduction to After Effects by creating 3 different things. Firstly, we're going to create a title, then we're going to create shapes, and then a transition. So the first screen you'll see in After Effects is this one. It shows your previous projects as well as where you can create a new project. So we're going to hit new project. And then in here, it's pretty much all these empty windows. Like in Premiere Pro, you'll have to create a sequence, or what they call it in After Effects is a composition. So you can do it in 2 ways. Either press this button or you can press Control N, and that will bring up this screen. And here you'll be able to choose resolution, frame rates, as well as duration. So I'm gonna go, we'll do it 1080p. You can pick here, we'll do 25 frames per second. And I'll set a duration time of 10 seconds. Unlike Premiere Pro, it is infinite timeline. Here you have to pick how long of a timeline you want. And then we're gonna press OK. So here you have just an empty slate. And what we're going to do first is create a title. So first things first, we're going to create a title. So if we go up to the top tool section, you'll be able to see the one that's the title. And then we can click anywhere on this black rectangle and type. I'm going to type title. On the right hand side, we should be able to see character. If you can't, what we're going to do is just change our workspace to all panels. That's what I normally edit in anyway. So if we go up to the top and just go window and go workspaces, you should be able to see all panels. So I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger for you. So we'll create it at 100. And then since it's off center at the moment, what you can do is go to the align section. Make sure you select your layer, and we can just press these buttons so it's directly in the middle. What I want to do is I want to make this go from 0 to 100. So I want to make it pop out. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is go to scale. So you can either press those arrows, or you can, if you remember the shortcuts, you can press S once you've selected the layer, and it will come up with scale. We're going to make it scale from 0 to 100. So in order to do that, we're going to use keyframes. So to set a keyframe, you just have to press the stopwatch on the side of your parameter, and this is throughout all of After Effects. You'll be using heaps of keyframes, so this is something to master. So we're going to press that stopwatch, and you'll see it creates a little point on our timeline. That's just setting the point where it's at the moment. And then if we move to the front, and I'm going to type in 0, it'll create another keyframe here. So that's going from A to B once we play it. It's a little bit slow for my liking, so I'm just going to drag this keyframe, and you can shift it in a little bit. So I'm going to shift it to 1, like so. Cool. And it's currently scaling off this anchor point right here, and I kind of want it to move from the middle outwards. So in order to move this anchor point, I'm going to go to the tools up the top here and press this one, and then we're going to select our anchor point and then move it to the middle. Now it kind of stops a little bit abruptly at the end, so in order to fix that, we're going to add easy ease. In order to do that, you can either select all your keyframes and press F9, or you can right click, press keyframe assistant, and then go to easy ease, and that would make it a little bit smoother. We can go a little bit further with that if we select our keyframes and then press the keyframe graph editor just here, and we'll come up with this screen. If you don't see this screen, you're probably on value graph. So what you can do to change it is just right click and then go speed graph, edit speed graph. That's the one. As you can see, it goes from slow to fast, down back to slow. But in order to make it slower, what we're going to do is select the last keyframe, and you'll see a square and a circle pop up. We're going to get the circle, hold it down, and then drag it to the left. And as you can see, that moves the line of our ramp. So as you can see, it goes from slow now to fast to even slower, like so. And then in order to get out of this screen, we're just going to click the graph editor again. So the last thing I normally add is a little bit of motion blur to make it look like it's actually coming at you. In order to do that, we just have to press this little motion blur square here and tick that on. If you don't see it, you might be in the wrong switch, so just press this little switch at the bottom and it will shift between the two. In order to make sure motion blur is on, you also have to make sure this one is highlighted, otherwise it won't be on. So if we play that now, it should look pretty good. So now, once we've done that, we can move on to making a shape. And in order to make a shape, we're going to make a shape move from out of the screen to in the screen. So let's do that. So in order to start that, let's go to the top here and click the shape layer. I'm going to select a rectangle. If you want a circle or another shape, you can just hold down the shape tool and it'll bring up the other shapes that you can do. But for now, I'm going to go to a rectangle. I'm going to go to my right and you'll see fill and stroke. I'm going to turn my fill off, so I'm just going to click my fill and turn that off. And then I'm going to click my stroke on, so press stroke. And then you can choose between a gradient or a solid. I'm just going to go solid color, go on. It's selected white, which is the one I want. And I'm going to turn my pixels maybe to 10. So that way it's going to be a bit thicker. I'm going to turn my title back on actually, so I can see it. I'm actually going to create a box around my title. So you can just draw, make sure you're not selected any layer down here. And then you can draw any shape you want, like so. Now I can turn my title off. And let's center that again, like we did earlier. So to the line on the right hand side, and then just press the ones that we want. So as you can see, it doesn't move, it's just a shape. In order to make it move, however, we're going to press the arrows on the side. We're going to press transform, just this one here. And this one, we're going to use position instead of scale. So I'm going to create a keyframe once again, and that's by pressing this stopwatch on the left hand side. So if we press that, and then I'm going to move to the start. So that's my B point. I'm going to set my A point now. So I'm going to go to the start, and then you can just move these parameters by clicking and dragging. As you can see, it's moving my shape down. So make sure you hold down your mouse while you move it. Once you see this icon hovering above it, and it'll move it for you. So now, if we play it, we can see our shape moves up. It's pretty cool, but again, it's a little bit static where it just stops suddenly. So we're going to add easy ease. So I'm going to select the keyframes, going to right click, press keyframe assistant, and then easy ease. Cool, like so. It's pretty good, getting there. What we're going to do as well, we're going to make that a little bit slower once again. So I'm going to select my last keyframe. We're going to go to graph editor, and then similar to what we did before, as you can see, there's a square and a circle. We want to drag this circle a little bit more this way, so that way it slows down as we get there, which is quite nice. Yeah, so let's go back to the normal page and turn our title back on. Now you can see it looks something like that, which is pretty cool. I think I've keyframed it a little bit too high. So if I wanted to move our shape down just a little bit, just make sure you actually select your keyframe and put the cursor or the timeline actual line over your keyframe. Otherwise it's gonna mess up your animation. And then we're just gonna move that down just a bit. Now we've made our animation, I'm just gonna also move our title so it's a little bit more delayed. So I'm gonna move that back, so that way it comes up. Let's move it back all the way to here. So that way our shape comes up first, and then our title fills that shape. Nice. So now, once we've created our shape, we've created our title, last thing we're gonna create is our transition. So transition is essentially going from this whole screen to another. So what we're going to do is, if you select both of your layers and we'll press U, that just only brings up your keyframes, which is pretty neat. And then we're going to create a solid. So in order to create a solid, we're going to right click on this empty space down in our timeline, and then go new, and then solid. Sweet. We're able to pick any color that we want. For this one, let's pick a nice blue. Great. You can also pick the aspect ratio, which we just want it to fit the whole screen. Then we're going to press OK. So similar to what we did with our shape, we're going to create a position keyframe. So we can either press the arrows or we can press P on the keyboard, and that will bring up position. We're going to position this one out of the frame once again. So I'm just going to move this to the left a little bit, like so. And then I'm going to press the stopwatch to add the keyframe. Then we're going to go a little bit ahead, maybe like 1 second. And then we're going to move the position once again all the way to the other side of the screen. And this line essentially is showing where your actual shape is going to follow. So now if we play that, that goes from one side of the screen to the other, which is pretty good. However, in order to make a good transition, you need it to fill the whole screen, at least for 1 or 2 frames. That way you're able to cut in the middle, like so. If we just select our shape layer and our text layer, and select that somewhat in the middle of our transition, and press Ctrl-Shift-D, that's actually going to split the shapes, and then we're going to just delete that. So that way we can see our transition actually does something. It goes from title to no title. However, it doesn't really cover the whole screen. So say I put this behind some footage, it doesn't really cover the whole screen, so this effect is not going to work too well. So what I'm going to do is select our transition and press S on the keyboard and just make it ever so bigger. So maybe 110, so that way it covers the whole screen edge to edge. Cool, and that should work. However, I do have to do my start and end keyframes because it just has a little bit of bleed. So we're going to press U. So U will bring up whatever keyframes you have set on the layer. And then I'm just going to select this one. I'm going to move it out just a bit. And same for my endpoint. We're going to move it out just a bit as well, like so. Cool. There we go. And with this one, I think I'm going to add some motion blur to it as well. So we're going to select this little box, and that way you can see the edges are just blurring a little bit. So it should make it slide a little bit smoother. And that is pretty much it. All you have to do to make a pretty good title and transition. In order to export it, what we're going to do is go File, Export, Add to Render Queue, or you can export it through Media Encoder, but I'm just going to export it through Render Queue at the moment. And if we wanted to export it like a PNG, where the black is going to be no background, so we can apply this on top of a piece of footage, we're going to go to Output Module, click that lossless button, and then go Format, QuickTime, and then make sure in our format options just here, it's set to animation. If I didn't want to have it like a PNG, I'm going to set to ProRes, but since I do want it a PNG somewhat, I'm going to press animation. And then if we go back to this screen and we go to channels, I'm going to set it to RGB alpha. Great. That's pretty much it. All you have to do, and we'll go OK. And then we're going to set our output. So it says here, output 2. I'm going to select that. Title. Great. And we go render. Done. So now if we bring this title into our Premiere project, we'll be able to put it over any piece of footage like so, and it will be able to play by itself.
So hopefully this helps you understand After Effects a little bit better and help you create better videos. Feel free to send us any animations you've made on Instagram. Check out this movie, and we'll see you in the next one.